So recently there was this uh, local city news station, I think based out of Atlanta. I'm not 100% sure. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. That did a story about the person that live on camera shot those two reporters, and the story was revolving around this person that they interviewed, and he had known the shooter and had played games with the shooter for years and had made references to Gamergate about it, etc., yada yada. That story came out about a week and a half ago, and just, I believe it was yesterday, they came out and said, we looked into it, we sent the information to an analyst out of a university who said that this person's Steam account could not have possibly been old enough to correlate with the story that the person was giving. And we apologize for what was said before. We retract our former story. And kudos to them for doing that. I mean that sincerely. They actually went through and fixed a mistake. That's not something you see very often with journalism these days. I've noticed a lot of journalists tend to stick pretty gung-ho to whatever they say. However, I have a serious question. Why did they put more effort into figuring out if what they said was accurate or not after they said it, rather than before they said it and made an article out of it? Why didn't they put that same level of scrutiny into making the article as they did to figure out if they were wrong with their article? Which leads me into my rant for the day. There seems to be, from my own personal view, no standards at all in journalism anymore. Be you gaming, mainstream, anything. There are fuck all for standards. Why? Why are the standards that seem to be in place so damn shitty, if they even exist at all? And why is this not even tolerated? I know for a fact that this isn't tolerated, but for some reason it just continues. I know it's not tolerated because I can give you one single name to show that this isn't tolerated. Brian Williams. Ask him! Ask Brian Williams if you can find him anymore. If he thinks that people don't like there being standards in news media. I think he might tell you, yeah, that's kind of what fucked me over. A man lies about a story with him being in a shot-down helicopter. Within a week, he gets fired. I think that proves that people were pissed. He lost all credibility, and people made it known that he lost all credibility. He could no longer be a journalist because no one would believe him anymore. People expect standards from the media. Why doesn't the media expect that people want these standards? That's the only reason I can think for why the media doesn't have standards in place or isn't adhering to these standards that should be in place. And this has been the case for years. Years! I can give a few examples from every facet of media. I remember it was 2 or 3 years ago, CNN did a story about manga. You might remember this one. And it was in some sort of correlation with a child pornography law or some such. I don't remember how they webbed those two together exactly. Well, at one point, they sent a reporter out to the seedy underbelly of Japan's manga world. I'm basically quoting at this point. And he held up the cover. He held up a manga, and they blurred the cover. They only showed two characters' faces on it. It was two girls. And they were talking about this in relation to child pornography and underage drawings, etc., etc. They were making it sound like that's what it was, when in reality, people looked it up, and what they censored was blood. There was blood stains on their dresses. That's it. That's what they censored. It wasn't even gory. It was just blood spatterings. The main one that I can pull for gaming, and I always go back to this one. The Mass Effect 3 ending. Hear me out. Don't tune me out quite yet. I was actually, and still am, of the camp that I didn't have an issue with the ending itself. I enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed the ride there. Yeah, I was disappointed in the ending, but I was happy with the journey. However, the people who were really, really pissed with the Mass Effect 3 endings, I found they had every justifiable right to be pissed. The creators said this is not going to be some copy-paste, choose one of 3 identical endings. And that's exactly what they got. That's exactly what people got. They were promised something that they wouldn't get, and they ended up getting that. So yeah, people were really pissed about that, and they had every justifiable right to be. But the media, for reasons that still escape me to this day, declared that anyone who complained about that was entitled. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. No, dipshit. They were told if they purchased this, they would not get something. They would get a completely different experience. And they would get a rich experience, one that interconnected all of their unique decisions, one that was a meaningful ending. And they got the choose one of 3 ending. In no other business, in no other industry, could the seller of a product tell you, we promise it will not be this, and then when you get this, in no other industry would you be called entitled for demanding that you be set right and you get what you were promised. There seems to be no standards. I don't get why. If anything, this last year has shown people give a damn. They really give a damn. I take that back, actually. There does seem to be a standard. A double standard. I've been noticing this more and more, and I've been thinking about it a lot. A big one, and this one probably open for debate, but I think that this would fit into that double standard. category. I've seen journalists from everywhere saying, "Oh well, you can't. It's really hard to talk about Gamergate because it's a leaderless movement. It makes the job really difficult, etc., etc., yada yada." I seem to recall a lot of good press about Occupy Wall Street, and there is a lot of good press and a lot of defense around Black Lives Matter. Both leaderless movements. Hell, Black Lives Matter is another hashtag movement. So, that whole, leaderless movements are hard, we don't know what to do, thing kind of flies out the window. The real reason that it's so hard to do anything with Gamergate is because it's against the media. Gamergate wants standards. They want ethics in journalism. Of course the media doesn't know what to do because that would require the media to actually have standards and ethics. But here's a more recent example. One that's pretty much clear-cut that proves what I'm saying. Recently, and by recently I mean just in the last 2 weeks, maybe not even that long, there were the reveals for the new Street Fighter characters. First came R. Mika, and as you can imagine, journalists in the gaming scene were kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Triggered by the outfit. It's a fucking wrestler outfit. Anybody who's played fighting games can tell you that's nothing wrong with that outfit. Sure, it looks weird, but I mean, I've watched, I've seen some Japanese wrestling outfits. I've watched the WWE for a couple years, way back in the day. I've seen a lot stranger, trust me. But then, later on, a Ryu alternate outfit was revealed, and at least a couple of these same journalists, and I mean same as in they wrote articles saying how R. Mika's outfit was bad or problematic. That seems to be a really popular word these days. A couple of these same journalists made articles about how Hot Ryu, and yes, that is the term they used, Hot Ryu, was the best Ryu ever. Do you just not see, in the time span of a week, you basically contradicted yourself? I don't get why there is such a pushback against ethics, standards, anything like that. Why wouldn't you want those? Well, I know why, because it makes your job harder because you have to actually do work. But I mean, people want this. It's very clear that people want this. The only thing you're doing by pushing back against it is showing you don't give a shit. And if that's how you feel, neither should we about you. Anyway, this has been Math Machine going on a long rant about just the pure stupidity and lack of standards that I have been seeing more and more that just drives me up a wall. Peace out.